We are pleased now to be joined by 2019 Women's World Cup champion. She won so many NWSL champions, a couple of NWSL shields, an MVP. We'll throw that into the mix. The All-Star, Jess McDonald. Jess, how's it going?
Oh, excellent. Thanks so much for having me, y'all. I mean, it took a good century for me to get on the show, but hey, I'm not holding anything against you, but I am excited to be on the show. So thank you so much for having me.
She's already given us slack. She's
I
already
love it. Look, it's natural though. It's like she's always been a part of this spiritually. Like your aura has always been part of A3. Like you were one of the players that showed us a lot of love early on. So
yeah, no, I love the show.
Much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now you've stepped into the other side, right? You're broadcasting now. You're a mom. You're doing all the things. So you've been busy. Don't put it all on us, Jess.
Yeah,
don't put it all on us.
No, I really have been. I will give you that. I really have been. They keep me on my toes.
Thanks for joining us now. We are chatting the 2016 NWSL Final. Congratulations on that. We're throwing it back to that because it's all about 2016. Congrats on winning the final. You were with Western New York Flash. You defeated Washington Spirit in penalty kicks. But when you think back to the 2016 NWSL Championship, what memory comes to mind?
Memory comes to mind, and I'll be taking this one to my grave because this was such a jaw-dropping moment in the game. And I don't know if there's any play in a championship that can really top this one, but my assist to Lynn Williams with 20 seconds left to go in double overtime before we go to penalties. We're down 2-1. I mean, you could say it was Western New York Flash versus Washington Spirit, but it was really Western New York Flash versus Crystal Dunn, because she was at her peak as a striker in her pro career. And I mean, she's slicing and dicing us, but I mean, it was one of those Hail Marys, like goalkeeper misses the ball. I find Lynn Williams' head and wide open net. She just heads it right in. And it was just a jaw dropping moment to the point we were so tired that I couldn't even run to Lynn to go celebrate because I was so tired. It was like the 122nd minute of the game. So that was, it reminded me of like the Megan Rapinoe to Abby Wambach in the Olympics against Brazil, like last second header, like Hail Mary moment. And that was probably one of the top highlights of my entire playing career because that tied the game up 2-2 to take us into penalties.
Oh my goodness. I chills just listening to it.
Yeah. All the staff for Spirit, they were coming down to celebrate. They were handing them the trophy. They were giving them their shirts. And then it was like everything just paused in that moment. So yeah, it was nuts.
Maybe a little bit like oversharing time for the audience. I remember for me, this was my first championship final that I attended like in person. I was like, I got to get to these NWSL championship finals. Like, this is the big event to cap off the seasons. Like you want to support the league. It's like, let's get there. So I remember buying a ticket, making my way to Houston, maybe to stick with some of that energy about the exhaustion. This was only the second year where there was like a neutral site, a predetermined site for the championship final that kicked off. It was always kind of given to the higher seed, but in 2015 that changed. And in 2016, it was year 2 of that. But we're talking Houston, Texas, afternoon kickoff, hotter than you know what.
Exactly.
I mean, what do you remember about those conditions? Can you still feel the heat at some moments? When
I'm still feeling it. I'm still recovering from it. I'm still getting IVs from it. Yeah, mama was struggling out there. I'll never forget. Yeah, and we were a high pressing team to top it off. So it was like, you know, we're like this all game. And I'm like, okay, we need a break. There was no such thing as like hydration breaks either at the time, you guys. It was a struggle, but hey, we hung in there.
So at this final, of course, you go into extra time. You talked about it, the equalizing assist that you served to Lynn Williams, but you also went to extra time in the semis too, before you got to the final. And then in the final, you take that again one step further into the penalties, and ultimately you win. But what do you remember about the end of extra time before penalties? You just talked about how exhausted you were. You couldn't even run to Lynn to celebrate. Yeah. I rewatched the game. You just stand there with your hands up.
Yeah, I literally just go like this. Yeah. Like, good God.
Yeah. So what was next between that, the end of extra time, and then penalties? What do you remember about that?
Well, we considered ourselves the underdogs, sort of the junkyard dogs that year, and we prided ourselves on being a fit team. So we prided ourselves being this high pressing, very fit team, and then going into penalties, we had prepared for it. Our coach at the time was very adamant about penalties just in case. We'd worked on them for weeks before playoffs even started. So we knew in order who was going to be taking them. And we knew in that moment that we had the confidence to step up to the plate and be able to succeed, at least winning in penalties.
Yeah. Okay. We're entering the moment where it happens, right? This is the first time a final goes to penalty kicks. Even we go from blistering hot sun to finally it has set. Gets a little darker. But the penalties that take place in this shootout, and we got to talk about both sides here because some of them are like questionable at best. How much of that is a combination of the exhaustion, the physical toll of the conditions versus, maybe just regular athlete brain,
Yeah, you know what? It's honestly all of the above. It can be nerves for one. It can be the pitch for two. I know y'all are probably gonna want me to break down my penalty, and I'll let you know what happened in that moment. But nerves is definitely one. Focus. Taking penalties is not as easy as people think. It's really not. You can practice this thing a million times, and then when it comes to the big moment to obviously succeed, it's hard, and it's mental toughness at that point. It's mental competitiveness at that point. It's like, okay, looking up at the goalkeeper, seeing which way she's going to shift. It's all about your technique, how much power you're going to get on it, exhaustion, like you said. We went into double overtime. I mean, it's a long list of things that go into that one moment where it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to look easy, but it's really not when you step up to the plate in that moment. So it's a long list of things that affect your penalty.
Ultimately, New York, you guys win 3-2 on penalties. D'Angelo, the goalkeeper, comes up with 3 huge stops. You go third for Western New York Flash, Jess.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, man. And that would have sealed the game for us. I would have won us the final if I would have scored mine, because they had already missed theirs. So it was like, okay, we just need one more. I'm like, okay.
It was 2-1 at that point for your third kick.
Yeah. So we're stepping up, and I'm like, okay, took my deep breath. I took my steps. I went through my whole routine, you guys. Put the ball down, went through my whole routine, took a deep breath. Ref blew the whistle, and I step up. I know exactly where I'm going. I know I'm going high to my left, goalkeeper's right. I saw the keeper shift to her left, my right. I knew where she was going, and I knew where I was going. And I knew I needed to hit it with power. You guys, there was sand right where the penalty was taken. There was a pile of sand. If you watch closely, and I watched the replay of my penalty 100 times, you see all of this sand shooting up with the ball. You guys, I shot this ball so hard and up, and I'm pretty sure it left the stadium. I didn't see where the ball actually landed, but it's still in orbit, and it's 2024. The final was in 2016, so it's been 8 years, and I'm still waiting for it to come down from orbit. So I know I smacked the crap out of it, but I also hit a lot of sand that was on that field. When I hit the ball, I got under it too much, obviously. That's why I hit so much sand. But that like affected the way that I kicked the ball. And I just walked away, just put my head down, and I was like, dang, that was bad.
I mean, like at that point, like, what are you gonna do, right? You're gonna be like, well,
hey, but you know what? I didn't fuss about it because we were already up in penalties. So I was like, okay, I was dead center. I could have helped seal the deal, or at least the next person would have won it for us. But I was just like, dang, well, we're still up. So, oh well.
Well, Jess, 8 years later, you finally get to, get that off your chest.
Yeah, I love it.
Let it go. We know it was the sand. It wasn't you, because you are a heck of a goal scorer. That year alone, you had 10 goals, 7 assists, including the one in the extra time to send it into penalties. So don't worry, that's not your legacy.
I'm not even worried, but you know what? That's been ingrained in my brain now, to the point where I have not taken a penalty ever since. So I was one and done. So all of my goals that I've scored in my pro career, not one is a penalty. So being top goal scorer of all time in NWSL, I can pride myself and say I'm the only one in the top of scoring in the NWSL that does not have one single penalty. All the other goal scorers have penalties. They have lots and lots of penalties. I don't have one.
Jess, that's awesome.
There you
That's
go.
pretty
Like,
cool.
boom.
That's a pretty cool stat. You have a lot of cool accolades and records, but that one is pretty unique.
Yeah.
That tops it. That might
I
top
pride myself.
Yes, that's yours. Keep it,
Yes,
claim
it's
it,
mine.
tout it. 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happened with your kick because the Flash go on, they win the final. Take us in the locker room post-game. What were these celebrations like?
Well, it was nuts. Honestly, it was a blur. You know, we're blasting music. We've got the trophy, taking pictures with the trophy. It's our first championship. And I can't remember which teammate it was in the locker room, but one of them was just like, what happened this season? Because we went into that season dead last in rankings. We were dead last. We were a bunch of, when I say nobodies, we were a bunch of nobodies. I mean, I didn't have a name yet. No one knew who Lynn Williams was. No one knew who Jaylene Hinkle was. Sam Mewis, Abby Dahlkemper, Abby Urseg. I mean, we were stacked. Sobs D'Angelo, she was making her way up with the Canadian national team. I mean, a bunch of just nobodies. And for us to make it all the way to that, it was like, holy crap, we did that. And then you guys, we literally had to get on a flight back to Western New York Flash. We had a very early flight. It was almost a red eye. So it was like celebrations, hotel, nap, airport. Some people almost missed the bus going to the airport. Like a crazy evening. There were no bars open. I think one was open till like 10 p.m. and we got in like the last 5 minutes, listened to the last few songs, and then we had to go to the hotel and then basically get ready and pack. So we didn't have much time to celebrate, but like locker room was lit for as long as we could be there. And then it was like we went out for a few minutes. When I say a few minutes, it was a few minutes in Houston, and then airport back to Western New York. So yeah.
I love that you touched on that and how you all were celebrating, because I remember that. Like I mentioned that this was attending my first NWSL final, and this was really the season where I was like, I want to, try to commit myself to doing more coverage of the game and covering women's soccer and NWSL specifically. And I remember all of those, whatever people had their rankings or the prediction. Everyone loves a good preseason post, right? And yes, you're 100% correct. Can co-sign 9th. And I believe there's a very iconic quote from Mewis during these celebrations where she goes, they had us last, or they had us 9th. Like, yep. And she's referring to those moments. Mm-hmm. So I love, I think that's what made that locker room so special, and to watch that team go on the run that they did to kind of not only close out the season, but get through into the final, because it looked different back then. We're talking just top 4 teams, only the semifinal round, and then a championship. So sticking with that a little bit, that's what I want to kind of lean into and kind of spin it forward with you. You are someone with this Western New York Flash team in 2016 who goes on to win even more titles with many members of this locker room. And we're going to get into those much later as we revisit all of these championships. But for you, in terms of this event, in terms of this moment, this marquee event, how has this final, the event, the marquee moments progressed from 2016 throughout your experiences to now? Because there's parts of these celebrations that we see throughout visiting some of these early ones, Jess, where we're watching players have to hold up their own championship sign. There's medals on tables to the left. There's maybe a confetti, cannon. Can you talk to me a little bit about the progression of the NWSL Championship as an event from 2016 to the ones you've been through to today?
Yeah, man, I wish we had those bonuses that they get nowadays back in 2016. That would have helped Mama out a lot, especially childcare, boy. Oh
yeah.
It was like, in the championship for 2016, we got tennis shoes and some t-shirts basically. Yeah. And then moving on to going to the championship in 2017, 18, and 19, They started to add bonuses towards 2018 and 2019, and then getting more gear. So, and you look at it now, I mean, it's 10 times that. And so just watching the progression of this league has been nothing short of amazing. But, a lot of us, we had to pave the way somehow. And that's exactly what we did. And the ladies now who are playing in the league, who are going for that trophy, deserve that bonus, deserve the extra attention, deserve the revenue, deserve the flowers, basically. But honestly, it's like night and day. It really is. And we clawed our way through this league, but being able to stick with it all with the same core of players was honestly just cherry on top when it comes to my playing career, because between 10 and 12 of us, we played for a solid 7 years together consistently. And that's what made us so successful, is how well we knew each other on the field, but obviously being very close off the field as well. That's it's just night and day. That's the only way I can explain the championship now in comparison to, ones just 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So many of the players, even on that championship team that played in that game with you, still play, still compete. There's been so much change on the pitch and off the pitch from 2016 to now. And we would not be in 2024 with 14 teams in the league and expanded playoffs and big bonuses and players signing multi-year $1 million contracts without the 2016, where there was no bonus and it was rough. What would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now, at being on both sides of the game, right? As a player in last year and broadcasting it this year and knowing everything you know, what would you tell yourself back in 2016?
It'll get better. If I knew this is how it was going to be, telling myself it'll get better, because this was a time frame where a lot of us were working, full-time jobs as well, just trying to make ends meet. And, in 2016, I think I was getting like 18 grand, in the league. And that was the season was only 6 months at the time, if I can remember correctly. So half a year, and the other half, you have to figure out your life. And so I think if I knew this is how it was going to be, I would definitely be like, hey, it's going to get better. So it's going to be okay. Because it was, it was a fight through blood, sweat, and tears. We went through a lot of things that no one can possibly imagine, but that's just a way you just have to pave the way and gut it out. And that's what a lot of us did, honestly, because we love the game. It's for the love of the game at the end of the day. But now, since 2019, from the lawsuit with the U.S. Women's National Team, it's like, okay, now we deserve some cheddar now, So I think that's what kind of started all of this. And now look at the progression of the game for the NWSL. It's nothing short of amazing at this point.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just basking in it, like listening to you talk. I'm like, man, it's crazy, because I think just there's a certain moment in time, I think, when we're going through this kind of historical segment that we're doing on A3, where it's like, let's revisit every single final, and you look at all of these finals and you can know these very tangible changes that take place from year to year, and still we're talking margins, like very minimal type stuff, like even from like how we're recapping from 2013 even now just to 2016, and some of the things that have changed, they're just the smallest of things. So just listening to you say that, my hope as well is to see things even more different from 23 to 24 and 24 and beyond, and I'm sure that we will, because it kind of feels like things are trending in a much better direction, we'll just say. But as far as kind of sticking with this and kind of looking ahead, you have found yourself now, like off of the pitch, commenting on these things. You're doing an interview here with us now. We get to see you on broadcast. We get to see you break things down with the analytical side of things. So I'd like to touch a little bit about what we're witnessing right now in this season, because I referenced this Western New York Flash as a very special team because of how they were rated as, like you mentioned, those underdogs, and you guys took it a step further as junkyard dogs. And we're watching a lot of fun storylines in this season in 2024. Orlando Pride feel like they are doing something very special right now. Not to put you on the spot, do you think with 4 games left at the time of us doing this interview that they can go undefeated the entire way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Seb Hines put something in their water over there. I think, before preseason even started, have y'all ever seen the Space Jam movie with Michael Jordan?
Yes.
I think they all had that Michael Jordan water that they drank at halftime, and
yeah.
They went up against the Monstars and they came out the big dogs, basically, like Tweety Bird, came out a big dog. So that's Orlando Pride this season. They've got something special, very special going on this season that it's hard to break when you're on that momentum. When you have that kind of confidence, especially as a pro athlete, and you're doing it as a team, it is so hard to break that. When you're doing great behind the ball and on the ball, that's hard to break. And no matter what you do as a team, if I'm a head coach going up against Orlando Pride, obviously I'm going to try and change things, tweak things. Okay, these are the passing lanes that you have to take away to keep Barbara Banda off the ball. We can do whatever we want. We can prepare as well as we possibly can going up against the big dogs, Orlando Pride, but it's hard to break still. And I have to bring this up because someone texted me because I feel like this is almost the same vibe that we had as North Carolina Courage in the 2018-2019 season. Obviously, we didn't go the whole season being undefeated. I think 2018 we lost one or two games. And someone texted me recently, and I want to start this on Twitter. I'm happy I'm on Attacking Third today because someone was like, hey, who do you think would win out of the 2024 Orlando Pride and the 2018-2019 Courage team? And I'm like, whoa, that would be a sick matchup.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've arrived.
We were the big dogs. It was hard to break our system. We had the 4-4-2 system, which was hard to break. We had the box midfield, which was hard to break. You can go into that game and prepare all you want, but it was hard to break. I've been in an environment like that. So it's the same for Orlando Pride, and they've switched things up throughout their season, but they continue to succeed. And I wanted to start that question on Twitter.
So who would win? Who would win, Jess?
Hey, I gotta go with my team. We had
That's right.
Sam Lewis, we had Dabinia, we had McCall Zerboni when she was at her peak. We had both Abby Ursig, Abby Dahlkemper at their peaks. I mean, we had Jay Hinkle, probably the best left back in the world at the time. We had Sabs D'Angelo, we had Steph LeBay in goal. We had Caitlin Rowland. And I mean, me and Lynn Williams, I would say probably one of the best duos in NWSL history, at our peak.
Hands down.
Speaking. Yeah. So, I mean, just the fact that we had Sam Lewis,
it's a big one.
It's tough. Sam and Marta going at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that pick. That's a good comparison between those two teams. 18-19, you guys North Carolina won the Shield and the championship those years. Yep. Is that possible for Orlando this year?
Absolutely.
Make it through playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, another 2024 prediction and look at some things, because we're seeing history being made with Temwa Chawinga, the forward at Kansas City Current, who is electric. She is so fun to watch. She just netted her 17th goal this past weekend. The record that was set in 2019 by Sam Kerr is 18 goals. Does Chawinga break that record for single season goals? And what does she get to potentially?
100%. I would say Chawinga is getting to 20 goals this season. I'm calling 20 for Chawinga because she is a rare breed of a footballer. And what I mean by that is if you look at probably about 80% of her goals, she is turning absolutely nothing into something.
Yep.
You're like, ain't no way she's about to turn 4 of these defenders, break the midfield line, zigzag through the whole back line, then go against the goalkeeper 1v1. I mean, how many times have we seen Chawinga do that this season? I mean, quite a bit. So I will say she's breaking Sam Kerr's record this year. So welcome to the NWSL, Chewinga. Take a bow. You are
Yep.
nothing but amazing, sister.
Absolutely love that shout, Jess. I think
Love
so
it.
too. Orlando's going to go all the way. Chewinga is going to break the record. I think 20 goals as well before we even get to playoffs. Now, there are more games this year for Sam Kerr, but it doesn't matter. A record broken is a record broken.
Yep.
I love that one. Jess, at Attacking Third, we are curating an A3 playlist that we can share with everyone and that people get to jam out to. So we're asking people that come on our show, hey, what are you listening to these days? So for Jess McDonald, what is a go-to song on your playlist right now that we get to add to ours?
A go-to song, I would say In the End by Linkin Park.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's been one of my day one songs since high school. And I've been listening to it for every pregame from every sport that I've played to professional level for soccer. So you can see that song for sure on all of my playlists, basically all my pump up playlists, from workout playlists, pregame playlists. Even if I'm jamming out in the car, that song is always going to be coming on.
That's a good one. It's got a good build up. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the lead singer, he is from Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, my hometown. So he went to my rival high school. So
that's cool.
There you go. Supporting the local band.
Yeah.
I love the shout. Okay, Jess, where people that listen to you and on Attacking Third today and can watch you on YouTube, but give us a day in the life of Jess. Where can people find you now? What are you up to these days? Give the people what they want to know a little bit more, J-Mac.
Yeah, I have found myself living in Michigan, trying to network my butt off out here because I don't know anyone here. So it's different, but just it's been a joy being a mom of 2 kids now. But not only that, but being at home with them more. I don't have to focus on my career as much. I don't have like that selfish mindset as a pro athlete, training, recovery, that's an all day thing. People don't know our routines as pro athletes. And so being able to focus on my kids has been just such a joy. And just watching, I have a 12-year-old, he's in 7th grade, watching him just grow into a young man and being there with him to watch it happen, and my little one, he's 10 months now. He's able to travel with me to the studio in Atlanta at Ion. So just being on my own schedule is just a joy, and it's such a relief. So my transition from playing pro into broadcasting was just smooth as butter. And I'm so grateful and so blessed for that opportunity, because I started off doing it in Australia for the Women's World Cup. Optus Sport, they gave me a chance when I didn't have any experience whatsoever. And so I told my agent, yeah, this is what I want to do. And so watching so many of my friends and even my brother go through the struggles of playing pro into not figuring out what you want to do. Whereas me, I tried to get ahead and make sure my transition was smooth, because I have kids, obviously. And so being able to just play and then talk about the game moving forward. And most of them are my friends. Most of the teams I play for, I think I still hold the record in NWSL for most teams play for. Y'all might have to look that one up. But just knowing the game, knowing the NWSL, the ins and outs of the league is so helpful for my job now. Honestly, life has been just absolutely fantastic. I honestly have no complaints, and my body feels good. So
yes,
and my body feels fantastic to top it off.
Awesome. It's awesome. And you're absolutely crushing it, right? It's cool to hear that you could make that transition, because it is scary and it's hard to change what you're doing and what you've known for so long. 7 clubs in the NWSL.
Yes.
Is what you've done.
Yes.
And you hold the assist record right now.
I do.
USL. You
hanging on.
But you hold it.
Yes. I'm still holding it. Lynn, I need you to slow down, sister, for the next 4 games at least. And I'm okay. So I can wait till next season for her to break it. But
absolutely. Give her a follow on Instagram at jmac1422. And if you want to get in on her Twitter conversation, she's great on Twitter. She threw that one out there about the 2018-2019 North Carolina against Orlando this year. It's at j_mac1422. Jess, thank you. This was awesome.
Let us know, people. Thanks for having me. Thanks, you guys.